welcome to the Spanish Non Lucrative Visa. This is Bruno from Spainguru, and this is what we're gonna talk about today. The webinar is structured in a timeline. I think the timing is the most important factor when you are applying for this visa. So before application, during application, and after approval, we're going to see before applications a lot of considerations that I suggest you have in mind, definitions, understanding what kinds of visas we are talking about, the differences between different consulates, outsourced services, the difference between being tourist and resident, tax implications. This is extremely important. And we're going to go through the eligibility and the most important requirements. We're going to deep dive into them. Then we're going to talk specifically about the timing, so you have an idea on when you have to do what, the application process, and then after approval, what you have to do once you arrive in Spain, when you have to do the renewals, if you want to pursue the long-term residence, what you have to comply with, even Spanish citizenship, and if you plan to work at some point in Spain, how you could do that transition to a work permit. And a little disclaimer here, this content is for information purposes only, and it is not legal advice. And the requirements listed here on this webinar are not official. And I highly recommend you that you check with your specific consulate the official requirements in order to apply for this visa, as there are very big variations between the different consulates, even within the same country. So first of all, Spainguru. What is Spainguru? Spainguru.es. Well, the objective of Spainguru is facilitating relocation process for English-speaking foreigners to Spain since 2014. So 10 years old, Spainguru, and I'm running Spainguru.es. And what are the services that we offer? Well, basically at Spainguru, we have a big community, and I don't mind if you do it yourself and you apply for the visa, or you go with professional help. We can cover you in any of those cases. Whether you're searching for immigration experts or tax advisors, we have recommended partners that have very strong expertise. But of course, if you do it yourself, and this is something that you can easily do if you're organized and respect timelines, you will still need health insurance unless you're a UK retiree. You will need medical certificates, sworn translations, probably apostille services. You will need to open bank accounts, and you will probably need to rent a place to live once you arrive in Spain. All those things, you can find them on Spainguru. We have personally vetted every single partner, so you can, you're in good hands when you're using these services. So, well, enough said about Spainguru. Let's start with everything related to before the application of the Spanish Non-Lucrative Visa. Here on the top, you can see where we are standing. In case you get lost, you know that we are before the application. So first of all, what is the Spanish Non-Lucrative Visa? This is for non-EU citizens, okay? This is a Spanish visa type for people who can financially support themselves and do not need to work in Spain. And if you want to read the law and regulations, which I also recommend, it is defined in only 9 articles that you can read and Google Translate, so you know exactly from the law what you are applying for. Now, if you go to spainguru.es/Spanish Non-Lucrative Visa, you can find specific pages for each of the consulates in the US, in the UK, and now also Canada. This is extremely important because, as I said before, the requirements change slightly or sometimes a lot between the consulates, and you cannot choose your consulate. You need to be resident in their jurisdiction area. For instance, if you live in Atlanta, you will be assigned Miami, and you will have to prove that you legally reside in Atlanta with your driving license, right? You have to effectively move to another place in order to be able to apply on a different consulate. So all the consulates in the UK and most of the consulates in the US, so all the consulates in the US, except for California ones, San Francisco and Los Angeles, they used an outsourcing service that it's given by BLS International. This is a very big company that is listed in the Indian Stock Exchange, and they handle the applications of the non-lucrative visa. They handle the appointments as well. Normally, you will have to either show personally to their offices in order to apply, or at some point have communication with them, although the final word is given by the consulate of Spain. But in general, I think that by the end of this year, we're going to have also the California consulates under the BLS outsourced service as well. As British, US citizens, and Canadian citizens, you can enter without any tourist visa, just directly to Spain or the Schengen area during 90 days over a period of 180 days. Okay. Once you finish those 90 days, you need to get out of the Schengen area, and then the clock starts counting. If you want to stay in Spain longer than 90 days, you will have to obtain a residence. What kind of residence? A temporary residence. Under the Spanish law, the temporary residences are the ones that are valid between 90 days and 5 years. So if you obtain the non-lucrative visa, you will be able to get it for 1 year and then renew it for 2 and 2, total 5 years, and then pursue the long-term visa and potentially the citizenship. If you are an European Union citizen or you are married to one, definitely the non-lucrative visa is not for you. You are lucky because basically the European Union passport holder can move to Spain without a visa, just register them there, obtain a residence, and just the spouse will join the EU passport holder and will be able to obtain a permit for 5 years and a work permit as well. And this is basically what I just said, but in this new slide. Now let's talk a bit about taxes. Okay, so it is important to notice that you would become a tax resident in Spain if you spend over 183 days in Spain within a natural or calendar year from January 1st to December 31st. In order to renew the non-lucrative visa, you need to spend actually this period inside of Spain. So effectively, if you plan to renew your non-lucrative visa after 1 year of stay in Spain, you would become a tax resident in Spain, and that of course has implications because you pay taxes on your worldwide income, including capital gains tax during that year where you become resident. Okay, there are also other ways that the taxman in Spain can consider you a tax resident. If your center of interest is in Spain, if your spouse and children live in Spain, even if you spend less than 183 days, but the most common one is the number one, you will have to spend at least 6 months in Spain in order to renew. There's a few frequently asked questions. When should I sell my home and move to Spain? We're going to answer that in a slide later. And how long can I be outside of Spain under a non-lucrative visa and be able to renew? And we're going to see that later on as well. Now we're gonna go on we're gonna talk about the eligibility criteria, and this is summarized. As I said, you have to visit your consulate official website in order to check every single thing. And we're gonna go through the most important ones because we're gonna go a little bit in depth, okay? We're gonna talk about the address in Spain. You're gonna need address in a country of residence. You're gonna need to prove sufficient financial means to support yourself, and if you can with dependents as well, without working. Have comprehensive health insurance, unless you're a UK retiree. You have to prove a clean criminal background check or police check. You need a medical certificate as well. And if you plan to come with your spouse, you will need to get a duplicate marriage certificate, and in case of kids, birth certificates that prove the relationship among you. And you will have to prove that you don't plan to engage in any work or professional activities in Spain. Some consulates require some sort of letter of intent, okay? And of course, photographies, payment of fees, etc., etc. Now let's go with probably the most important one, which is the financial requirements in 2024. You need to prove for the main applicant, if you're only one person, you need to prove that you have enough funds or passive income or combination of the two of 400% of the IPREM in 2024. The IPREM is a index, okay, on which is it changes or increases every year, but in 2024 remained the same as 2023. And it is for the main applicant 28,800 euros. This is 4 times the IPREM. And then for every dependent, it is 7,200 euros. There you have a little table where you can see, for a couple it's 36,000, couple and one kid increases, etc., etc. Right? So as I said, this can be also passive income and savings, pension withdrawals, rental income, dividends, and you will have to prove this because these have to be net income, okay? The actual money that comes into your account on a monthly or yearly basis. This is proven by showing bank statements and documentation from your bank. And in some consulates also, they will ask for tax returns. Now let's continue. Something that is extremely important to have in mind is that at the time of renewal, after the first year, you will need to show double the amount. Okay, so that means if you're if you're a couple, for example, and you had to prove 36,000 euros, you will have to show 72,000 euros in the form of savings and a combination of passive income as well. Frequently asked questions: can I work remotely for non-Spanish companies? Well, this is a very tricky question. Definitely at the time of the application, when you are in contact with the consulate or BLS office, this is something that it is absolutely forbidden. We have an article about working remotely from Spain under a non-lucrative visa. This is once you are in Spain, this is a gray area. This is not illegal. There is a Supreme Court ruling that actually proved that you can actually do it. And there's hundreds, if not thousands of people doing it in Spain. But of course, at the time of the application, this is something that you can't do or use as a proof of income, definitely. Next question, and of course, if at the end of the webinar or tomorrow, you can send me an email to hello@spainguru.es and ask me any questions. I'll do my best to send you the links of all the information so you can have first-hand answers for all your questions you may have that today maybe remain without answer. Next frequently asked question: can I own a property and rent it out? Would that be passive income? Definitely. There are cases of people who purely prove their funding through rental income, as long as it is considered passive income. Therefore, if you have many properties, for example, and you receive income, but you're actively managing those rentals, it may be considered active income, and that could be dangerous actually. So you will need to have someone to represent you, a property manager, etc., that does let's say the daily operations. Now let's talk about the private health insurance requirements. Okay, so there are very specific characteristics for the private health insurance that need to be compliant with in order to be accepted for the non-lucrative visa application. And this is probably the most expensive part of the application itself. So the insurance must have no co-payments. That means that when you go to the doctor, it is already paid. It's not that you pay and then they reimburse you. That is actually forbidden. If that is one of the clauses of your health insurance, you will probably be rejected. There's no waiting periods, so there's no vesting, okay? There's no waiting 6 months to be covered. You need to be fully covered from day one, from the day actually that you arrive under the non-lucrative visa in Spain. And you need to have full coverage, okay? That means geographically, you need to be covered in all Spain, and you need to be covered for everything, okay? For all the treatments. Now we're gonna go into the nuances of this statement, okay? You need to pay a full year in advance. Okay, this is important as well. There are some health insurances out there that offer you to pay by month, but I've seen rejections. And the health insurance, once you have hired this insurance, they will issue a certificate of coverage, okay, where they explain exactly all those elements that make it compliant. And this is the document that the consulate or BLS office will use to check that box about the health insurance. Now let's go with the frequently asked questions. As you can see, there are a lot. Are my medicines covered? Usually private health insurance don't cover the cost of medicines. What should be the health insurance start date? It has to be the day you enter Spain, at the very least. Okay. Are there health insurances for older than 75 years of age? Yes, there are. Actually, on Spainguru, we are offering the KV through brokers, and you can hire them until 99 years old. What if I have pre-existing conditions? Okay, this is also extremely common, depending, of course, on the pre-existing conditions. This is something that you need to declare at the moment of filling the medical questionnaire. Normally, you will not get covered by the health insurance, but still the health insurance will give you full coverage for everything else, and they will issue the certificate of coverage. But in the event in which you have problems related to those pre-existing conditions, you normally would have to pay them out of your pocket. I don't know any health insurance that covers pre-existing conditions, but I know a lot of people, if not all of them, they have received their certificate of coverage, and they were able to get their non-lucrative visa. Next one, can I pay into the Spanish public system? Yes, you can. After 1 year of residence in Spain, you can access the public healthcare system through something called the Convenio Especial. This is something that you do with the Social Security. If you're less than 65 years old, it will cost you 60 euros per month. And if you are over 65, 157 euros. I believe almost pretty sure that in Catalonia, it is for free, actually. And coming back to my medicines, the medicines cost. Well, if you are in the public system, the medicine cost is heavily subsidized, and you could see that any given medicine, you go to the pharmacy, it costs 30 euros. But if you do it with a paper from the Social Security, maybe it costs you 10 euros or 5 euros. So if you have costly medicines, this is something to have in mind going to the Spanish public system. And I highly recommend, and this is something that I do personally, I have the public healthcare system and the private insurance, because they are good for some things but bad for the others. They have pros and cons. Can I use my current health insurance from the UK and USA? No, really, I don't know anyone. There are people who actually do it, but normally the paperwork needs to be provided in Spanish as well. You will need to do a lot of translations. You will need to prove there's a high risk that someone says, oh, you're not fully covered in Spain, it is a travel insurance, etc. So it is more troubles than anything. So basically I would say no. Okay, use a Spanish company. Can I apply with a UK S1 form if I'm a UK retiree? Yes, as I said, you can, absolutely. You start the process once your residence is, once you obtain the Spanish Non Lucrative Visa, with the initiation of your S1, you travel to Spain and you finish the process of getting the access to healthcare system from Spanish public system, and then everything is fine. Next one, frequently asked question: do I need a Spanish bank account? No. At least on Spainguru, yes. The brokers that we recommend, they are used to work with people who have their funds in their origin countries. So no, it's not important. Can I pay on a monthly basis? As I said, there's a big risk of being rejected. Can there be reimbursements? This is something related to no co-payments. No reimbursements. You have to be covered to be able to visit your GP for free, let's say, or included in your monthly fee. What are the best companies? Well, the top companies, you have Adeslas, DKV, Asisa, ASA, Sanitas from Bupa. All those you can find them on Spainguru, yes. And they all offer compliant health insurances for non-lucrative visa. I have a lot of videos and a lot of content about this. It's a very long subject to cover, but it is probably one of the most important and the most expensive. Medical certificate. So let's continue with the medical certificate. It's something very important, and as I said, timing is probably the biggest factor. These documents have validity, okay? So medical certificate, 3 months validity only. So you have to plan ahead and know when to obtain it. And it is very important also, and I highly recommend to use a template provided by the consulate where you're applying from, because it has the right wording, and it also normally comes in Spanish, so you won't need to sworn translate it. Although in the UK, you still need to apostille this certificate. Therefore, only doctors who are registered with the Foreign Office can get this document apostilled. What I recommend in the UK is to use online services like ZoomDoc. You can access this service on Spainguru. You have actually a discount. They only use FCDO registered doctors. You get your certificate with the perfect wording, and it's very quick, and you can do everything online. You don't have to go anywhere. In the USA, unfortunately, we don't have any service to provide. You have to go to your GP, and hopefully he will sign the certificate for you. Sometimes there is no possibility to do so for some reason. We put you in contact with a Spanish doctor. Some consulates, they do accept Spanish certificates. Those certificates, when accepted, don't need apostille or translation because they are in Spanish by an official doctor. But in the past, in the UK consulates, they have required that the applicant had to be in Spain at the time of the issuance of that certificate. This is not happening in all the consulates. So if you don't have any other option, you can contact the Spanish doctor on spainguru.es, and he will tell you if in the consulate where you're trying to apply, his certificate is accepted or have had any rejections in the past. Okay. Frequently asked questions. My doctor won't sign the MC template. What can I do? As I said, probably search another option. Probably use an online service if you are in the UK, and or the Spanish doctor. Do I need an apostille and translate the medical certificate? We went through that. My doctor is not FCDO registered. This is a problem because you need to get an apostille. Can I use a medical certificate issued by a Spanish doctor? As I said, it depends on the consulate, and it depends sometimes if they require you if you're in Spain or not. Here you have a template. As you can see, the top part is in English and the top part is and the lower part is in Spanish. Background check or police check. So this is probably the document that takes longest to obtain in both countries, in the UK and in the US. Especially in the US, it takes some time. It must be clean, especially in the last 5 years. It has to be squeaky clean, as they say. Some people will say, oh, I have a driving, I was driving drunk 16 years ago, or I was smoking marijuana when I was 19. Will that be a problem? Normally it is not, and what they look at is the last 5 years mainly. Okay, if you have something in the last 5 years, there are procedures to start cleaning them up. Okay, you have a no life trace in the UK ACRO, for example, there are procedures to clean them up, etc., etc. So depending on the consulate, these police checks, they have certain validities. Sometimes it's 3 months, sometimes it's 6 months. Check your consulate's directions because of this. And in the case of the FBI background check, it takes a long time. Let's go with the frequently asked questions. I am still eligible with records on my background check. As I said, the last 5 years are the key. If you live in several countries, you need to obtain background checks of all those countries in the last 5 years. Can I expedite the background check federal apostille in the US? Right now, there is no expedite service exactly, but Spainguru has partnered with probably the fastest service in the US that can help you out. Also, other people, they can maybe get it to you in 2 weeks. This is the lowest I've seen, the fastest I've seen. Some people reached out to their congressman, and their congressman got them fast as well, but sometimes their congressman doesn't pick up the phone, or their office don't do anything. So it is up to you if you're in a hurry, but the best is plan ahead and do it with time. Can I notarize the background check and use state apostille instead? This is again a little trick to go faster. No, just use federal apostille. Where can I have my fingerprints taken? Well, I have a nice article on Spainguru, either if you are in Spain or if you are in the US or elsewhere, that explain you how to do it. Just send me an email, I will send you the link. What if my fingerprints are illegible? This happens also. I've seen a lot of senior people who are losing their fingerprints. send me your question, and I will send you the link to some articles that I have with solutions. Now, proof of not working. As I said, consulates, and they say like every time even more and more are requesting and making sure that people are not going to work once they move to Spain, especially after the approval of the digital nomad visa in January 2023. So if you are in retirement age, you're already getting your pension, you will have to prove that you're receiving it. You will have to prove with your bank statements your net income. If you were working and you're resigning in the UK, the P45 is the document that is accepted. In the US, notarized resignation letter, employer letter that you no longer work for the company or both. And in case you are a freelancer in the US, a notarized affidavit promising not to work. This is something that they scrutinize, especially if you are in working age. There are people who go for non-lucrative visa in their 20s even, okay, and they have their savings and they want to take a sabbatical year in Spain, but the consulates, the BLS office will look at their papers with very much interest, just to prove that they are not going to be working once they get into Spain. Frequently asked question: should I quit before I get the visa? No. Generally, no. There are ways, as I said, to provide documents to promise that you're gonna quit your job if and under the condition that the visa is approved. Is renting out a property considered a job? As I said, it is a little gray area. Having a business, having properties, and receiving income from them, absolutely okay. But if there is a doubt that this active income, that you are doing the operations by yourself, then it may be a problem, and you would need to have someone in between that helps you out with that. Is investing in stocks considered active income? This is an answer that I got from our group. Most of people say that they invest in stocks, and it is never considered active income. Can I volunteer while on a non-lucrative visa? I have seen many people who do it and they never had any problem whatsoever because they don't receive any income from it. So when they show the bank statements, there's nothing to talk about that really. And then some extra documents. As I said, if you are applying as a couple or with kids, you will have to get a new or duplicate marriage certificate that usually has a 6 months validity. Children will also need their birth certificates, also with 6 months validity. Depends on the consulate, that validity. Non-married couples can apply as well, but they will need to prove the relationship. And you can use different documents, different proofs, like, if you're a legal partnership, then of course you have a document for that. But sometimes just proving with joint accounts, joint rentals, photos of your trips to the Bahamas, or anything that can help prove that you are a couple. Of course, if you have kids, you're not married but you have kids, that is this very strong proof, and you can apply as a dependent. All those documents will need to be apostilled and sworn translated. I think in the US, the marriage certificate, it is state issued, so it is fine to do it, the apostille with the state apostille. But don't quote me on that right now. If you have any doubt, you can always send me an email and I will answer you. Next question: what documents prove a relationship when I'm married? We went through that. What about adult children and ascendants? Well, if they're adult children, I think children over 18 years old, you will need to prove that they are financially dependent on you, and with ascendants as well. What comes first, the apostille or the sworn translation? This is a common question. Well, normally the apostille has to come first and then the sworn translation. But one of the most important sworn translators that I know, she said that it doesn't really matter. So there's no, it's not important, the order. Something that I didn't mention is about sworn translators. So sworn translators are official translators that are part of a list of approved translators by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Spain. They have registry, and these are not translators that they have to do a course, they have to do a very difficult exam, and they're used to do all this paperwork. On Spainguru, you can find these sworn translators, recommended ones, who are absolutely used to do this kind of translations, but make sure to use sworn translator and not just normal translators. All right, that was the biggest part before the application, all the things that you need to consider before. Now we're gonna go to the smaller parts during the application. Let's have an overview to the application process. And before going through that, let's approve some messages here. All right, this last question, I'm gonna answer it right now, actually. Let's see a little bit step-by-step guide, some things to have in mind. All family members must apply. This is something that actually is working better with the BLS offices, booking appointments. You basically book a joint appointment and all the family members apply in one single file. In-person application and or pickup. Some consulates you need to go in person at the moment of applying, at the moment of picking up the passport. Some consulates you do it by mail. Some consulates they give you the option. Um, and at the moment of the application, you have to choose the intended date to enter Spain. You will have 90 days from the application date to choose that date, and from that date you will have 90 days window to arrive to Spain. Okay, some of the common mistakes to avoid, and this is something that I asked Ainhoa Manero of Stern Abogados. Highly recommend you to go to YouTube and see my interview with her. All the common mistakes that people make, unfortunately. Not checking specific consulate requirements. Okay, this is important. I said it many times now. Wrong or expired documents. Okay, this is something, sometimes birth certificate, it is about to expire, and then they ask you for the non-expired certificate and you didn't get it. Okay, this is extremely important. Wrong chronology, starting with the short things at the beginning and leave the difficult ones at the end. Wrong health insurance. This is something that I've seen this week. People rejected because they didn't use the right health insurance. And say that you plan to work. And this is something that actually, as I said, if you're in your 20s or 30s and you want to do a sabbatical year and you say like, oh, I plan to change to a work permit after 1 year, and this is something that you can do, and it is totally legal to do and say, maybe they won't like it and they will reject you. So be careful with that. Now, timing. How much in advance should I start preparing before moving to Spain? In the US, it takes a little bit longer because of the federal background check, and 6 months. And in the UK, is about 4 to 5 months in advance. Most consulates retain passports during the processing. US applicants can get a second passport. Okay. Also, I have an article about that. UK applicants may be allowed to keep theirs. Actually, if you prove that you need the passport, that you need to travel, people at BLS offices can actually give you the passport and just tell you to come back with it when your visa is issued. Prepaid envelopes versus in-person visits to pick up the passport. This is something important as well. If you live far away, sometimes you need to pick up in person the passport, but sometimes you prepay the envelopes and they send it to your house. This is the case of the UK as well. How long does the process take? So docs preparation between 2 to 3 months. Okay. Attending appointment, third month. Wait for approval, normally 8 weeks, okay, 2 months, but officially they tell you 3 months. 10 days period if clarifications are asked. Okay, sometimes they say, okay, no, we cannot issue the visa, we need this extra document, and you have 10 days to supply it. So be careful with that as well. You can choose visa start date in a 90-day period, as we said, from the application date. And officially, you have 30 days to obtain the TIE card, which is the residence card, valid for a year in Spain. Okay, so once you arrive, okay, a 30-day period start in which you need to get an appointment with the national police and get your TIE card or residence card. So I guess this chart is a bit noisy, but it is, it has all the elements. I think this is how it looks. No, the first of all, for the application process is you need to find your consulate. Make sure that you are legal resident in the jurisdiction. Then check the official requirements, okay, and check if they work with BLS. Okay, you need to collect all the documents, understand which ones take longer, okay, and then you will obtain the medical certificate, bearing in mind that it's 3 months valid. You will need to apostille and sworn translate all the official documents, okay. Then sort out the private health insurance or use the S1 or start the process with the S1 if you are a UK pensionist. Once you have all that and all your documents are valid, you will get an appointment with your consulate or BLS office, okay? And not all consulates require appointment. For example, San Francisco, everything is handled by mail, okay? So there's no appointment, right, in that case, but only in that case. Then attend the appointment if applicable, then wait for the notification. As we said, maximum 3 months. Sometimes there's a clarification period, and then collect the visa, which is maximum 90 days from visa start date. And once you get to Spain, something that our community asked me to add, you need to obtain the padrón. We're going to go through that as well, because in many police stations, in order to give you the residency card, they ask you for the padrón. Just to finish talking about the timing, something extremely important, super popular question: how can I avoid capital gains tax on property sales? Some people are looking forward to selling their properties and then move to Spain, but how can they avoid that tax? So, selling your main property and becoming a tax resident in Spain within the same year could result in CGT liabilities on the gains not reinvested in Spain. Something to have in mind. Sell in December, for example, and move to Spain in January to fall into separate tax years, avoiding Spanish CGT on your property sale. This is a common strategy. When you plan your move, for example, if you move in August and stay less than 183 days for that year, you won't become a Spanish tax resident immediately, okay, during that calendar year that starts in January 1st. And you would avoid the CGT, okay, at least the Spanish capital gains tax, okay, that year, okay. Applying for a non-lucrative visa, considering previous stays, can help manage your residency status. Be careful if you've been in Spain before. If you move under the non-lucrative visa in August, but you were on holidays in February and you spent, I don't know, 30 days, those days count towards tax residency, okay. So be careful. If you have stamps in your passport that show that you've been in Spain, they will count those days, and this can make you a tax resident. Reinvestment of the sales proceeds into new property in Spain can potentially mitigate CGT liabilities, and for main residences, individuals over 65 may have specific allowances to reduce CGT exposure. I have an article about capital gains tax specifically, so I can also send you the link once you send me an email if you're interested in. Now we move to the final part. After approval, living in Spain on a non-lucrative visa. So first of all, we need to arrive to Spain, okay? 2 ways to arrive. You fly directly to Spain, okay, and you get a passport stamp, easiest way, or sometimes you enter through another Schengen country. So there's no borders between Schengen countries, so you will not get a passport stamp. You will entrada at a national police station within the first 72 hours of entry in Spain. For example, if you enter with a car from France, or you fly from France, okay, you will, this is something recommended, it's not a requirement, of course, you need to get a Spanish SIM card, okay. And this is something important to get the card, because they will send you SMS, they will notify you when you start procedures, so it's important to have it, and it's very easy to get it. Something also recommended is to open a non-resident bank account. Without your TIE, without your residence, you can't open a resident bank account, but you still can open a non-resident bank account. It's going to be a little bit more expensive. Probably they want to sell you extra products, but it's important to have one. And then once you get the residence, you will be able to change to a resident account, okay? Then obtain a padrón, certificado de empadronamiento, that is valid for 3 months, okay? We're going to go through that because I have an interesting comment from a lawyer, okay, who is expert in this. But most of people recommend you to have a padrón, and most of people, when they arrive, either they rent a property and they obtain a padrón. The landlord has to be okay with that to issue an empadronamiento. The empadronamiento is the registration in a certain address in the city hall office in the city where you are gonna live, okay? And this certificate, sometimes they request it in the police station to issue the TIE, okay, or the card, the identification card that proves your residency for 1 year, okay? Frequently asked question: is the padrón strictly necessary to obtain the TIE? We're gonna see it. There are no appointments to obtain the TIE. What should I do? We're gonna check the next slide. About the TIE appointment. Okay, officially it's 30 days that you have from the entrance of to Spain, but right now there are no appointments nowhere. Okay, they actually recommend you to ask for appointments in places like are 2 hours away from your town where you're actually staying. So really, they're not enforcing this limit. Appointments can take up to 6 months without issue. Okay, of course, the sooner the better you get the appointments in the national police, the better, but no immediate rush. Um, about the padrón, it is not needed for the first TIE. Really, it is not a requirement. It's not an official requirement, okay? Big police stations usually know this, okay? The proof of address is required, but it doesn't necessarily has to be the padrón. It can be an Airbnb receipt, right? So be careful. You need to check with your local police station, prefers a padrón, okay? And successfully processed NLV without padrón in several cities. In this case, this lawyer is from Valencia area, so he mentions several cities within Valencia. And bank accounts. As I said, you cannot open a resident bank account until you have a TIE card that proves your residence, all right? So now we're gonna go through the renewal process, how and when to renew your non-lucrative visa. The year one, the moment you enter Spain, within the visa period, the first year starts. Okay, what does this mean? For example, you are issued your visa to enter on July 1st, and you arrive on June 20th, 10 days earlier, and you enter as a tourist, and you stay in Spain. Your visa period starts. Your visa has not been activated. Actually, it happens a lot that people need, they are requested to go outside Schengen and enter Spain, okay, in order to activate this visa. I can send you links of articles to give you more details. So it's important to enter once the 90-day period of your visa is starting to be valid, okay? The day you enter Spain, that's the day when it starts counting, okay? So 1 year after is when you have to have the renewal, okay? The first renewal happens within 60 days before expiration, right? So you enter on the 31st of December, the 1st of November, you can already apply online, okay, using a digital certificate for the first renewal. And very important, as we said before, you will have to prove as funding requirement ×2 the initial requirements. So if you're a couple, you had to have 36,000 euros, you had to prove 72,000. We're going to go through that. And for the second renewal, that happens on the year 4 and 5. So first year, you renew 1 year, 2 more years, you renew again, 2 more years, total 5, okay? And then you can pursue the long-term residence. I hope I was a little bit clear. I think I messed up with the numbers, but hope you understood me. So let's see a case study of a renewal from the funding requirements perspective. Okay, financial requirements. Total funding needed for a couple is 36,000 times 2, so 72,000. Let's break it down. Imagine that in that couple, there is a net income of 15,000 euros annually from a pension, okay? So 15,000 euros annually is 30,000 euros. How much do you need to get to 72,000? 42,000, okay? So they will have to prove savings or other things. They have used even credit card credit, okay, which is readily available. You could potentially use Spanish property deeds, and they consider it liquid funding, okay? So don't quote me exactly on that, but there's many ways to prove not only savings, there are many other things that, depending on your personal situation, you can use to prove those savings, let's say, or the availability of liquidity to comply with these requirements. Documentation requirements: ongoing private and medical insurance coverage, okay, or access to public healthcare system coverage. Updated passport copies for both individuals, so they can see that you stayed a certain minimum time in Spain. and maintain current registration at the local town hall, that is the padrón. Okay, and remember, ensuring financial stability and compliance with all documentation is crucial for successful visa renewal. Time you need to spend in Spain to maintain your residence, obtain long-term residence or citizenship. So, first, with the non-lucrative visa renewal, you need to be in Spain at least 183 days per calendar year. That makes you a tax resident in Spain. If you want to obtain the long-term residence after 5 years of non-lucrative visa or non-lucrative residence, okay, you cannot be outside of Spain more than 10 months in 5 years, okay, to obtain the long-term residence, okay. If not, you could apply for another 2 years of non-lucrative visa renewal. This is something actually that not a lot of people do, but it is possible to apply for a third renewal for 2 more years if you didn't comply with the 10 months in 5 years rule, okay. And if you want to apply for nationality, in general, you cannot be outside of Spain for more than 6 months per year, okay. If you are holding a temporary residence, this is the case of the non-lucrative visa, which is a temporary residence. Or if you are holding a long-term residence, okay, you cannot be outside of Spain for more than 1 year outside. Sorry, you cannot be outside of Schengen or European Union more than 1 year, okay, to be able to apply for nationality. There's also the possibility to transition to a work permit after 1 year of residence under the non-lucrative visa. And you can do it in different ways. You can actually do it if you start your own business, okay? And for this, you need to comply with different requirements. It is not easy, but it is more than possible. I know people who have done it. And you can also work as an employee, okay. For that, you must receive a job offer from a Spanish company, okay. And these two modifications to work permits are if you plan to work within Spain for let's say Spanish customers or employers. But if you plan to work remotely for non-Spanish companies, I think no more than 20% of your invoicing can come from Spanish companies. 80% minimum has to be from outside of Spain. You can transition to digital nomad visa, which is extremely controversial, but this happens because there are a lot of people working under the non-lucrative visa, and this is actually something that you need to prove. You have to have been working for a certain period of time, have a certain income threshold to apply for digital nomad visa. So how come they're accepting this? Well, because they know this is something that happens. People under non-lucrative visa work remotely, and they are okay with letting them transition into digital nomad visa. Okay, I also have an article about that if you're interested. These are not the only ways. These are probably the most important ways in which to transition to work permit after a year. And for the digital nomad visa, I don't think you need to wait for 1 year, but not 100% sure. If you're interested, we can go deeper into that. Now, let's talk about the pathway to Spanish citizenship after living in Spain on a non-lucrative visa. And we're going to talk about obtaining Spanish citizenship by legal residence. So if you are legally resident in Spain for 10 years, this is the general period that you need to stay in Spain legally, okay, without going outside for very long periods, as we said before. After 10 years, if you're from the US, UK, Canada nationals, etc., you can apply for Spanish citizenship. But there is also something that usually called fast track. Some people can apply for Spanish citizenship in as little as 2 years. These are dual citizens, okay, or people from Ibero-American countries or Latin American countries, and other countries that have been under the influence of Spain, such is the case of Philippines or Andorra. Even Portugal and Brazil benefit from the fast track, okay, and other situations. But this is very important because there are a lot of dual citizens that apply for non-lucrative visa from the US, people who are American, but they also hold the passport from, for example, Mexico, okay, that they got from their parents. And under the Constitution of Mexico, these are Mexicans by birth, and they can apply for the non-lucrative visa being American, okay, obtaining the residence with being an American, and then move to Spain. And after 2 years only of legal residence, they can already apply for Spanish citizenship. Of course, they need to wait later on to obtain the citizenship, but it is extremely fast if you have access to any of these passports. Now, finalizing, we said it at the beginning, but if someone joined later, maybe probably didn't see it, what Spainguru can do for you. So if you plan to get help, immigration expert help, or tax advisory, we have vetted professionals that can help you out with that. You can consult a little bit just to know the do's and don'ts before starting yourself with the process, or you can actually, just leave everything in their hands. They will help you out from the beginning, during the process, and after the arrival in Spain. But if you plan to fully do it yourself, you will still need health insurance. You can find those in Spainguru.es. Medical certificates, as we said, sworn translators, apostille services in the US and UK, and bank accounts, money transfer. If you need to rent properties, we have discounts. We have vetted professionals as well. If you want to access a mortgage in Spain, you can freely consult with a mortgage expert that can tell you what your options are, and much more. We have more than 100, actually more than 100 services that you can find on Spainguru.es. And of course, probably you joined this webinar because of the Facebook group. If you're not a member yet, this is probably the biggest group, the biggest non-lucrative visa group, dedicated group with more than 13,000 members. You can join it here, facebook.com/group Spanish NLP. As I said before, please don't be shy. Send me emails to hello@spainguru.es. I'll do my best to answer you the most precise way possible, send you links so you get more information. And if you haven't seen our YouTube channel, we have nearly 600 videos, more than 200 videos from the non-lucrative visa. Probably is the channel that covers most about this type of visa out there, and the newsletter that I send every single Monday at 10:15 in the morning, every single Monday. So join it. And as I said, this is no legal advice. All the information was with the best intention, but it is not legal advice. Please consult with legal professionals specific with a specific experience in the consulate where you are applying. This is very, very important. Now let's go with the Q&A session. How do you deal with needing to provide Spanish address on this application if you haven't yet moved? As we said before, there are consulates that will just need, the city where you plan to move. Okay, you say, for example, Seville, and that's it. They take it. All right. Some consulates are hardcore, let's say, on their interpretation. They want a rental contract or property deed. Okay, this is the case, for example, of Houston. Okay, and this is something that if you do it yourself, a lot of people just will go above and beyond to get a rental contract even before moving to Spain, using online services, maybe using Airbnb and contacting landlords without finalizing the booking and asking them if they're going to let them get the certificado de empadronamiento if they move. And then they will try to do everything online to provide a rental contract. What the lawyers say is that this is not a requirement, and it is illogical to provide a rental contract, and it is dangerous. Like everything that you do online, there is some risk of being scammed. So lawyers will usually actually fight this requirement in these consulates with success, as far as I know. So this is the answer. Does the PowerPoint will be available, or does the session is recorded and be available in YouTube? Probably the session will be available in YouTube. Okay, I will think about it. Next one, UK Police Agro. Standard application is up to 20 days. Premium application, £115, up to 2 working days. Okay, this is when it works. Actually, one of the most watched YouTube videos is about the Agro certificate, and there was a big black hole of several months in which people were desperate because the Acro certificate website and database was hacked. Okay, and they weren't supplying the Acro certificates on online, and you had to write an email and asking, please send me your Acro certificate. So when everything is working, this is fantastic, but when there is the system goes down, it's a problem. And for example, I saw someone there from Canada asking, or there were people from Canada. Right now, for example, Canada has joined the Hague Apostille Convention for the first time, and the background checks from Canada needs to be apostilled as they ask for the other consulates, but it's taking 4 months. And this is something you need to live with. It's a problem that the authorities are having until the system gets set up. As per the post 5-year non-lucrative visa or residency, you mentioned a requirement for residency is not to travel outside of Spain a total of 10 months in the prior 5-year periods. Is this firmly Spain or the EU? This is Spain, actually, but there is Schengen area. Schengen area has 27 countries, okay? And it is borderless, let's say. When you take an airplane to go to Schengen, you will show your passport, but to the airline, okay? But you will not go through police. You will not get a stamp, okay? So until they put the new system called ETIAS, okay, that will do facial recognition, etc., but they've been, pulling up in time. They're not doing it yet. You can travel around Schengen, let's say, without being tracked, but technically you can be outside of Spain for more than 10 months within 5 years in order to access to the long-term residence. Okay, this is important to comply with. So can you please double check if you need to? Okay, next one. Please, can you double check if you need to stay in Spain at least 6 months to obtain renewal? Okay, so there has been a Supreme Court ruling saying that a person had to be outside of Spain longer than 6 months, okay, and she couldn't renew it, and she went up and appealed all this until the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said it is not in the law that you have to be 6 months in Spain to have a temporary residence. The legislator need to add this to the law. This is what the Supreme Court said. So technically, if you are in the same case and you stay less, okay, in Spain under a non-lucrative residence, and they don't renew you, and you are happy to go through all the legalities and the appeal, okay, you will win, because there is jurisprudence that won this case. So the problem is that the renewal staff, the people who are actually approving the renewals, are not applying this, okay? So you risk highly to not get your residence renewed and get into legal troubles, okay? This is the situation today. We are at the crossroad with that. So I haven't mentioned this Supreme Court ruling. I have an article also about that. I can send you the link. You can read the whole story and decide for yourself what you can do. What everyone says, all the lawyers say, is that stay in Spain at least those 6 months and everything will go fine. All right. Next one. Can my domestic partner come in on a visa other than an NLV if I come in on an NLV? I don't think there is a problem, but I have to check that. That's actually a good question for our community. Join our group and ask for it. All right, next one. This is a very long one. UK ACRO is valid. UK ACRO is valid for 6 months in UK consulates, BLS, not 3. Okay, 6 months, perfect. Check your consulate requirements, 100%. I try to remember every single consulate, but it is very, very hard because they even vary depending on the consulates. And some consulates even don't mention it. For example, Miami, if you go to the background check and you check the validity or the marriage certificate, they don't tell you. And then you go to the discussions in the group, people who have applied in Miami, and some say 6 months, the others say 3 months. So check the consulates and official requirements, make sure you're complying. Someone saying thank you. Thank you, Judy, for attending the webinar. Now I have John asking a question about tax. Do I pay tax in Spain on a non-lucrative visa Spain? To renew the non-lucrative visa in Spain next year, I was previously obligatory to spend 193 days. In Spain, however, since the last ruling, this minimum stay is no longer necessary. We commented into that. We're in a crossroad. There's the BOE, etc. This means that holders would no longer risk losing their visa if they stay outside of Spain for more than 6 months, etc., etc. That's what I already said. Thank you, John, for providing the BOE and the article and the number. You can read the decision. The decision is out there. Unfortunately, the staff doing the renewals have not read the decision yet, it seems. Or they read it, but they don't like it. That's the PowerPoint. Okay, next one. What are the rules if your children are EU citizens but do not live in Spain? Can they sponsor you in Spain? I don't know. That's a good question. By the way, our biggest group is Spain Immigration Questions. Spainguru is 30,000 members, and every day people post these questions. You can do it anonymously if you don't want to reveal your identity for personal reasons. So yes, just go ahead there or consult with professionals that you can find on Spainguru, that they will give you the legal options you have. Next one. For permanent residency, you mentioned no more than 10 months of travel outside in Spain in period of 5 years. Did you mean outside the EU? I think it's outside of Spain, actually. I gave you a little bit the nuances about traveling inside Schengen, but it's actually outside of Spain. If I am self-employed business owner, when should I finish work if I'm planning to apply for visa? 1st of May 2025. So depending where you are, depending your consulate, okay? Depending your consulate, first of all, what are the best practices for that consulate? But as I said before, just providing a promise, okay? Depending also, if self-employed, if you're in the US, notarized affidavit promising that you're stopping to work, it's usually enough, okay? In the UK, maybe they require something else, but along those lines. We apply separately, being a couple. Should we ask 2 appointments or 1? And can we send the documents together? So normally now BLS offices are doing joint appointments, okay? So if you're applying as a couple, you can do it in one single appointment. Donna, thank you. Thank you, Donna, for coming to the webinar. Thank you so much for joining. Joe, do you need to prove application for S1 when you apply? If you're a UK retiree, you can't finalize the S1 application. It's gonna be somewhere halfway because you finalize the application once you are resident in Spain. You provide the documents that you got from the UK before the social security in Spain, and then you get access to public healthcare system in Spain. So it is enough starting the application for S1 to be accepted. Okay. John says, thank you. John, thank you so much for joining and asking questions and providing information. Oh, you just answered it now, thanks. And does being in Schengen counts towards the 10 months in Spain? No. Spain is one country and Schengen is something else. It's 27 countries, and each one of them, they have their own residence permits. Of course, they have to be, let's say, somewhat standardized, but each country has their own immigration policies in what regards to non-EU citizens who would like to live, spend time, or work in their countries. Yeah, that long story short is that. So don't consider Schengen, when you get your non-lucrative visa for Spain, you're not getting it for all Schengen countries or the long-term residents. Ronald, this has been helpful. Thank you, Ronald. Thank you for the nice comment. Nicole, if my daughter is going to UK under student visa, is this a problem for getting her NLV to Spain? The only thing I can think of now is that you apply for your non-lucrative visa at the consulate where you are resident, okay? So if she becomes resident in the UK, all right, and that depends what student visa in the UK means. Because in Spain, it is not a residency, it is a permiso de estancia. It is something else, doesn't count for citizenship, for example, okay? So where you are resident, that's your consulate, okay? You need to understand that and ask the consulate if they are able to provide that service to you, okay? And if she has been living in different countries, she will have to provide documents for those countries, such is the case of police check, okay? the last 5 years, if you live in Thailand and you live in Morocco, for example, you will have to get those background checks as well in order to apply for the non-lucrative visa. So yes, it does have an impact if you are traveling around and staying and are a resident in other countries. Annabelle, thank you, Annabelle. John, hi Bruno, thanks for the great presentation. You're welcome. I'm glad you liked it. Hope to see you soon. Next one, Adrian Healy. Is there an advantage to getting a NIE number in advance? You can do that in consulates. You need to justify it. Usually, like I want to buy a property, for example. You can contact, or sometimes you just don't need to justify it very strongly. Okay, they just give you the NIE. You say like, I want to open a non-resident account, a bank account, for example. Okay, so you pay a little fee and you obtain the NIE. The benefit of it, that's a good question. Or the advantage, I don't know. Good question. Normally, when you get your non-lucrative visa, the NIE number appears on your visa, and that number stays forever. That number is, let's say, linked to you as a person, as a foreigner that has had some contact with the Spanish authority. Okay, until you become a Spanish citizen. When you become a Spanish citizen, your NIE stops existing, and they give you a DNI, Documento Nacional de Identidad, and you will have the honor as well of getting a birth certificate from Spain. And they will normally, if you come from a country that doesn't have double surnames, they will add you a second surname. That was my case. I am originally from Argentina. My name is Bruno Bianchi, and they added my mother's name, which is Sarcone. So now I have two surnames, which is a problem when you have bank accounts, when you have a lot of things linked to your previous name. Okay, I'm extending too much into that. So I don't see any advantage of having the NIE. I don't know, unless you're gonna travel before to Spain and you want to open a bank account, maybe. I don't know. Good question. And the last one, Paul. If we travel to Schengen country during, there's more. If we travel to Schengen country during the 5-year period of the NLVs, is considered being outside Spain? Yes. When you leave Spain, you're outside Spain. If you go to France, you are in France and you left Spain, okay? The thing is, how can they prove it? How can they track it? As of today, they are not doing it because there are no borders and there's no technology or system to track that. I don't know if they start to apply some sort of control, like your bank account movements, your credit card spending in France, for example, or Germany. I don't know if they're going to start doing that. To be honest, I don't know exactly what their surveillance level, to prove it. Next one. Health insurance can give the certificate only 2 months in advance, but in this case, I give the consulate only 2 months to make a decision. It is acceptable. I don't understand the question very well. Health insurance can give the certificate only 2 months in advance, but in this case, I give the consulate only 2 months to make a decision. I don't understand, because what is important is the start date of the health insurance and having the certificate of coverage that explains that you comply with the no co-payments, full coverage, and no testing period. So I assume that it is acceptable as you provide this certificate and you are covered the day you arrive to Spain. It is fine, and you have chosen, of course, the right health insurance. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. We were married in Greece 25 years ago as US citizens. Thus, the certificate is in Greek. Will this present a problem with our NLV application? You need to translate it. You will need to translate it, and if Greece is in the Hague Convention apostille, you will need to apostille it. So, yes, don't quote me on this, okay? But the birth and the marriage certificates need to be apostilled and translated, and they have to be translated from the original language, can be English normally, to Spanish. Okay, the civil servant needs to be able to read it in Spanish, right? So yes. Well, all right. I think all the questions were answered. I truly appreciate you took the time to be here, and some of you, or all of you found it interesting. I hope to see you in the next webinar as well. This is not going to be the last one for sure. And I will send you an email to stay in touch, asking about feedback about the webinar, suggestions, feedback. If you want to roast me, I'm open to that, obviously. And of course, if you have any doubts or questions, just send me the email. I will do my best to answer you. Please join the Facebook groups. Please join, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and the newsletter if you're interested. You can always opt out if you no longer are interested. And don't forget that Spainguru is here to help with the services that we recommend. We have been here for 10 years. We only recommend the best professionals, the ones that have the best trajectory, best reviews. And I'm here for you for anything you need. Thank you so much for joining. I wish you a great evening wherever you are. Bye bye.